The decision by the Republican-controlled Indiana State Senate to decline reconvening for a mid-cycle congressional redistricting vote represents a major political and institutional moment, marking a significant setback for the national campaign spearheaded by President Donald Trump. Despite holding a legislative supermajority and facing intense pressure from the White House and Governor Mike Braun, Senate President Pro Tem Rodric Bray announced that the chamber lacked the necessary Republican votes to advance the measure. This move effectively halts the effort to redraw Indiana's congressional map, which currently favors the GOP 7-2, into one potentially securing an 8-1 or even 9-0 advantage for the party ahead of the critical 2026 midterm elections. The analysis of this event shows a rare instance of state legislative independence trumping national party directives. In states like Texas, North Carolina, and Ohio, Republican majorities successfully passed new maps. Indiana's rejection, therefore, exposes a fracture within the GOP, illustrating that principles of institutional stability, deference to the traditional decennial census process, and concerns over constituent sentiment can, in certain circumstances, override raw political power plays. This development transforms the narrative from one of guaranteed GOP gains via gerrymandering to a story of regional Republican resistance and legislative ethics. Reasons for the Senate's rejection. The failure of the mid-cycle redistricting effort in the Indiana Senate was due to a confluence of internal resistance, external pressure from constituents, and institutional concerns. Principle and precedent. The primary objection among dissenting Republican senators centered on the timing. Redistricting is traditionally conducted only once every 10 years, following the U.S. Census. Moving the lines mid-decade, without a court order or constitutional necessity, was viewed by many as a break with established precedent and a betrayal of ethical governance. State Senator Kyle Walker explicitly noted the overwhelming majority of his constituents opposed the idea. Public and constituent opposition. Advocacy groups and Hoosier voters mobilized significantly against the proposal, framing it as an illegitimate attempt by Washington insiders to rig the system. Republican senators, accountable to their local districts, found themselves facing pressure from within the state, where opposition polls showed a majority of Hoosiers disapproved of the mid-cycle redraw. Political risk. Despite the GOP supermajority, some senators feared that such an aggressive and unpopular gerrymander could create political blowback. Redistricting battles often increase voter engagement on reform issues, which could potentially hurt the party's brand or trigger future ballot initiatives aiming for nonpartisan maps. Sufficient existing advantage. The current map already locks in a dominant 7-2 Republican majority. The push to secure one or two additional seats was seen by some as an unnecessary risk, especially when weighed against the political cost and internal dissent. Consequences. The immediate consequences of the Senate's rejection are twofold: national and internal. Nationally, the decision is a substantial political setback for the Trump administration and the national Republican effort to gain a decisive edge in the U.S. House. With Democrats needing only a narrow gain of seats to flip the House, the failure to secure potential pickups in Indiana means the GOP must now rely more heavily on the success of the redrawn maps in other states, like Texas and Ohio, and favorable electoral wins in 2026. Internally, the Indiana Republican Party faces significant rifts. Governor Mike Braun and prominent pro-Trump allies immediately blasted the Senate's decision, labeling the dissenting senators as rhinos, Republicans in name only, and suggesting a monumental betrayal that demands political retaliation. This division means the dissenting senators, including Senate President Pro Tem Bray, will likely face well-funded primary challenges supported by national groups in future elections, creating long-term political instability within the state party. Conversely, it is a major victory for fair map advocates and state Democrats who have lauded the decision as a defense of Indiana's independent thinking. Prediction and solutions. The immediate future of Indiana's congressional map is settled. The existing 7-2 configuration will remain in place for the 2026 midterm elections. For the dissenting Republican senators, the prediction is that they will become targets of a focused and expensive primary effort, testing whether constituent support for principled governance can outweigh national party machinery. Nationally, the failure in Indiana will likely prompt Trump allies to double down on efforts in other states, even those with slimmer GOP majorities. The battleground for the 2026 House will shift even more critically to the courts, which are actively reviewing the legality of the new maps passed in states like Texas and Ohio. For those who seek a more durable solution to partisan mapmaking, the current moment of defiance offers a pathway: legislative reform momentum. The very public nature of this rejection, fueled by constituent opposition and ethical concerns, provides significant momentum for nonpartisan redistricting commission reform efforts in Indiana. This episode demonstrated that even a Republican supermajority harbors anti-gerrymandering sentiment when the action is perceived as extreme. Focus on electoral turnout. For the national GOP, the immediate tactical solution must shift away from map manipulation in Indiana and towards traditional electoral strategies: superior candidate recruitment, fundraising, and voter turnout campaigns in the districts they already hold. Judicial review. Opponents of the mid-cycle redraws must continue to rely on the courts to challenge the maps passed in other states. Since the Indiana map was not altered, its current status is relatively secure from mid-cycle litigation, leaving the focus on other states' legal battles to determine the national balance of power. The ultimate solution lies in widespread adoption of nonpartisan commissions, ensuring that the voters choose their politicians and not the other way around.